social media explaining why it is impossible for them to buy homes. Student loans, high mortgage rates, low salaries. But the Wall Street Journal reports that this trend is actually hitting far beyond Generation Z. A growing number of older Americans who would traditionally buy homes are deciding to become long-term renters. That's having a huge impact on the economy. Let's bring in the co-hosts of the Big Money Show, Brian Brenberg and Jackie DeAngelis. Jackie, what's going on here?
This is a really interesting piece because we've been looking at mortgage rates and thinking, well, people can't buy because they simply can't afford it. At roughly 7%, it makes it so that, you can't attain the American dream. But that's not the case if you look regionally. So this article talks about what would happen if you tried to buy a home in Scranton. Even at 7%, the average price is $179,000. So your mortgage payment is roughly $1,000 a month. That really isn't that much. Your down payment would be $17,900. Not crazy, right? Not out of your reach for most people. But what are they doing instead? They actually prefer to rent in luxury buildings where average rents are $3,200 a month. So I'm like, wait a minute, you're willing to pay $3,200 to have a place to live. If you actually did the math there and you say it's about the down payment, in 8 months, if you net out what your mortgage payment would be, you basically flushed your down payment money down the toilet. What is going on here?
Not a good idea. You don't want to flush your down payment money.
Especially for the plumbing.
But I think what it is this sort of different psychology. I want it now. I want it to be nice. Yes. I don't want the responsibility. And they're sort of brainwashing Americans not to build value through a home kind of nest egg.
Look, if you're young and you're renting, you're putting your money in someone else's pocket. Yeah. But if you discipline yourself to own, you're putting it in your own pocket. And it's a cultural, this is not a financial thing. Yeah. This is a cultural thing. This is this mood among younger generations where I want an experience. I want it now. I want to travel.
You seen these buildings?
And it feels good now. I get it. It feels good. But you're going to 30 years down the road. Right. You're going to be saying, what happened to that money? Well, it went over to this guy.
And by the way, you got a game room. You got some of these buildings that have dog washing stations and rooftop views of the whole city. That's tough to compete with.
When you're renting, also, you're probably paying someone else's mortgage who is using that property as a nest egg and trying to build wealth. The only thing that I would say is, for example, here in New York City, it actually is cheaper to own if you do have the down payment. It all depends kind of regionally. The other thing I was thinking about is, prices aren't what they used to be. So our parents' generation would buy that home and maybe sell it for double or triple years down the line. You're not seeing those kinds of price increases. So I'm thinking maybe that has something to do with it. They want to invest in stocks. And again, but it goes back to that psychology. I want more and I want now and I want to leverage more.
Right. What about the idea of the money you have to put into a house? We've got a construction project going. I think I've built this ring in my house where I take my life savings and I put it in there and then I light it on fire.
The money pit.
So what about that effect? You go and you look at these houses, I could buy a fixer-upper for this, or I could be in this awesome building.
Let's be honest. It's very hard to buy a home right now. Okay, there's no question about that because rates are high, because everybody with a home and a low mortgage doesn't want to sell. So I'm not saying that young people have it easy. The problem is folks who could be in a position or who are in a position to buy a home and they're saying, I don't want to deal with the upkeep or the maintenance of a home or the work. And it's like, if you don't put sweat equity into something, you're not going to get anything out of it. So we've got, again, this is basic financial management. And somehow a generation has kind of missed this. Yeah. And they're going to pay the price down the road. And the sad thing is, they're going to want the government to come in on the back end and bail on. That's where you've got a problem.
I would just say this, for me, it's about a sense of safety and security, too. Just feeling like it's my own place. Nobody can kick me out. Nobody can raise my rent.
You can change it if you want to.
You can change it if you want to. You can do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're sort of financially sound and also diversifying your investments, right? I'm not saying don't invest in the stock market. Do it. But make sure you're diversified because things move differently at different times. Housing and the market may not move in lockstep. So
that's a great point.
And you're talking about housing too. You're getting a mortgage interest deduction. The government is basically subsidizing part of your mortgage for a time.
Absolutely. You get some of that money back at the end of the year, and if you're smart about it, you'll take it and you'll bank it. You won't actually go out and spend it. But these kids today, Rich.
These kids today. Jackie's always on the kids today.
It all started out with the social media too. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it's like this contagion. TikTok, everybody wants to rent, so I better rent too. Like, don't listen to TikTok for financial advice. Rule number one.
Not a great bet.
Brian Brenberg, Jackie DeAngelis, thank you so much for joining us, breaking this all down. Jonathan?